long story short, guys, some of you weren't in here, no PowerPoint, so I will not bore you with that. It'll be interactive, and we'll have a good time, and we'll cover everything in 50 minutes and some questions. I'm Rich Rayo with 3X Logic. I'm out of Somerville, Texas. I cover Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. Our corporate office is in Fishers, Indiana, otherwise known as Indianapolis. That's where we do all of our production. Our development teams, engineering teams and so forth are in Orlando and so forth. We're a global company. We have teams all across the country. But as we were talking about prior to some of you guys coming in, we are not a mercury-based system. Our product is available. We have had some challenges getting chips, as everyone has. The chip that we use in our controller I've been told, is similar to the chip that's in a lot of the vehicles, so that had some of the issues with it. But again, we provide access control, integrated video solution, and we also, he had said he had a shooter detection opportunity, and I want to talk about that with you guys. Has anybody done anything with Infineas or know about 3X Logic? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, you have.
I've done a number of
You have.
systems.
Good. Okay. Very good. So first and foremost, what I want to do is just kind of pass this around. This is a unit that sales perhaps would carry around with them. They could plug a Cat 6 into this unit and tie it into their laptop and show a customer live transactions happening in this building right now, et cetera, at a customer site. So there's a card reader, my controller, which you can see there. There's a momentary unlock, egress button, and so forth. But this is the unit itself that our controller resides in a new install. Forget about the card reader on the side, the buttons, and this is a black cover. So every time this cover comes off, that controller has a photo eye and it would go into alarm. But again, we have no panels whatsoever, and I want you guys to think about this because it starts to really sink in a few minutes. We're what we call a 1-to-1 ratio. One door, one set of doors, one controller. There are no panels at all. There is no composite cable in our configuration or design at all. So right out of the gun, or right out of the chute perhaps, if we're going up against anybody's system, and you guys are quoting AMAG or S2 or whatever it may be, you're gonna have composite cable most likely in that configuration. We do not have it. From the controller itself, on a new install, and I'm gonna touch on takeovers, because if you think the new install is simple and great, you'll really like the takeover. But on a new install, we are unlimited users, unlimited doors, we do not care. On a new install, from this controller, this is not a good example, obviously hard ceiling, but this controller can be mounted on the secure side of the door, and all I need from this controller is a Cat 6 to the closest PoE switch or one that you guys add. So there's no composite in the configuration at all. So I'm just gonna let you guys take a look at that. That's the actual controller itself. So what we do, guys, and I'm left-handed, so that's the reason I'm standing on this side. So from the door itself, with the controller, and it's referred to as an EIDC 32, I need one Cat 6 to the closest PoE switch. So from that controller at the door, or a set of doors, I'm going to, number one, I'm gonna get on the network. And number two, I'm gonna use the power from the PoE switch to power up my card reader and my locking hardware. So there are no power supplies involved.
Just PoE.
Correct. In 95% of what you guys do, there's no power supplies, there's no panels. You don't have to go and beg for real estate on the wall, the cost of the plywood, bringing 110, all the piping and everything, all that completely goes away. And you can put my controller in that double gang box at on the secure side of the door. If for some reason your customer doesn't want to do that, they have an open plenum, aesthetics, or whatever it may be, you can put my controllers in, the IDF, the MDF, and run composite out to the doors. But 97% of the time, the controller is on the secure side above the tile. No one knows it's there, and everything works just fine. So I'm picking up power from my card reader and my controller, and it's also putting me on the network back to the Infineas server. When I talk about Infineas server, and you guys interrupt me if you have questions or say something that just sounds ridiculous. On the Infineas server, there's a couple of different options. You guys can provide it. It can be provided by the end user, or it can be a virtual machine. So you decide what's best for your customer in that application. Now also, something I'll touch on here in just a few moments is Infineas Cloud. It's been and I'd like some feedback from you guys. If you guys do anything in the cloud now?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay, good. It's been my personal, understanding that somewhere between 15 and 25 doors and less, the customer is very interested in putting their access control into the cloud. The reason being, if I pick on this gentleman right here, he's a small business. He does not have an IT person. He doesn't have a desktop person, and every time he calls IT support in, it's $200 an hour. So he's hesitant to do that. So the cloud is a really good fit for him, say, 15 to 25 doors, or less. It's a really good fit.
Mm-hmm.
You guys' cost for Infineas Cloud is $5 a door per month.
I was wondering about that.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, with this gentleman's small business, that's a successful business, he's in the Corvette restoring business, I think, because I saw him driving one.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing here. We will upgrade, and these are some of the points that are gonna help you guys, when it's time to negotiate and obviously sell. With the Infineas Cloud and the server-based software, for the life of the system, we will upgrade the software at no cost. So his 5-year-old system can have the next version of software that we're gonna release next month at no cost. His brand new business you guys are installing this time next week, obviously is gonna get the same version that he can have. So there is no cost to upgrade the software for the life of the system.
Which is huge. I mean, just
Yes.
because like with S2 and AMAG and all that, they have to do a software agreement
Right.
to get the latest every year.
Is that what's the cost on that? So what are they saving?
I mean,
Is there hundreds?
depending
thousands?
on how many doors, yeah, it can be significant. Now if it's over, in my experience, if it's been over like 15, 20 doors, then it gets kind of pricey from the cloud perspective. But for those 1 to 20 range, it's cloud's a great solution.
I couldn't have said it better. So his business started off at 7 doors and now it's 28 doors. So with S2, or what's another system you guys put in?
Key scan or
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
all right, with those systems, his cost, started off, at $700 a year to upgrade that software and perhaps the SSA at 7 card readers. Now he's at 28, he's paying $3,100 a year. And these are just rough numbers.
Sure.
But we have no software support agreements, no software upgrade cost, and a really big deal, no card reader licenses, none at all.
And no mobile license, credential license, extra, right?
Well,
They use
yes and no.
the software that they.
Yes and no,
Yeah.
and I'll touch on that in just a second, but that's a good point. So again, his cost started out, roughly at 700, now they're at 3,100, because as he adds card readers, the cost of the software support agreement and the cost of the software upgrade increases as his number of doors do. With us, we do not care how many doors are on the system. We don't care how many locations are tied to the system. You could have locations around the globe. We don't care. If they're networked together, you use one copy of the software or you're tied into the cloud. We just don't care. You just do as much as you want. And just so you guys know, we use Amazon Web Services. It's not a big secret. We feel like they're the best, and that's who we work with. Now, again, We don't have any card reader licenses. It's a 1-to-1 ratio, guys, which is really, really important. 7 doors, 500 doors, whatever it may be, your customer starts to get involved in the mindset of, oh, well, it's gonna be, you know, X number of dollars for a single door, right? Okay, now, one other thing I wanted to mention was, on his 7-door system or his 8-door system, you guys sold him one panel. You sold him one 8-card reader panel, one 6-card reader panel, something along those lines. Would y'all agree with that? Okay, so his install's going on. He calls me up, says, hey man, everything's going great. I love it, the product, the security company's great. I wanna add one more card reader. Oops. Well, with traditional access control, you guys, okay, no problem, we'll take care of you. Depending upon the system, and I'll just go the middle of the road, I'll sell you another 6-card reader panel for that one door. He's like, nah, no thanks. I don't wanna pay, morning sir.
Morning.
I don't wanna pay for a 1/6 of that. I don't wanna use a 1/6 of that panel, but have to pay for the whole panel. Does that make sense and resonate with you guys? Okay, so it turns into a really big deal when you start looking at a 1-to-1 ratio. And again, if they're networked together, the sites, it doesn't matter how many doors, how many locations, none of that matters. It's just basically add a system, add a card reader to it. Now, what we do, and this kid's a little bit on the beat up side, but you guys will get the picture. We have a door kit that will meet any need that you guys have. This lock is a ROFU lock, which we haven't used them. It shows you how old this door kit is. We use Locknetics electric strikes, flush mount, surface mount, right? So we have a door kit that'll fit his 5 virgin doors and his 5 existing doors. So where I'm going with that is, in his 5 doors that have card readers and locking hardware, all he would need would just be the controller itself. On his doors where he doesn't have anything, he's gonna need a card reader, a strike, etc., flush mount, surface mount, whatever it may be. But that's the actual controller itself. And we have a door kit that'll fit any need, any design that you guys come up with.
How deep will that Locknetics strike? Can you adjust it as far as for the frame?
You can adjust it, and then we have, and I'll get this out to you guys, I wanna say 3/4 inch and 9/16 depths and so forth, but we've selected the 4 or 5 most common flush mount and surface mount strikes and put them in the door kits.
Okay.
So that it's just a matter of you looking at the data sheets, okay, I need 3 of the 3/4 and 9 of the 9/16, if you will.
Okay.
Now, one of the things that I want to mention to you guys, and we did this for you guys, is, and ops, don't take this the wrong way when I say this, but when I give the operations guys 25 door kits and a copy of the software, I'm like, call me when you're done. What do you mean, call me when I'm done? Well, what I mean is, you got your strikes, controllers, you got your card readers. You shouldn't have to make any ancillary runs to ADI to find out that some of your strikes came in and some didn't, or half of your card readers came in and the other are hung up and down. You don't have to, you know, you get those door kits, you get the software, you guys are, I mean, you're literally ready to go out and make it happen, and you don't have to go back to the salesperson and say, hey, you know, we need some more money. I had to make 19 trips to ADI because they don't have this, and, you know, parts and so forth. And that, do you guys agree that happens?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a project manager, a technician, when they're standing at ADI, they're not hooking this up. They're wasting time. So, yes, sir, you had a question?
I was gonna see what is ADI?
That's what.
That's the
Distributors.
Okay.
Who do you guys normally buy from?
ADR and Exton.
I'm limited on access control.
Okay, no problem, no problem. We won't hold that against you, at least not today. So ADI, Annixter, SES, SCS, Gray Bar, we're just about anywhere you guys go, we're there.
Do you supply through Wave by chance?
Who?
Wave?
No. Alibi Security, I think some of you guys may work with, y'all work with, I think Billy Grumbles, right?
I think Dario talked to him on that,
Okay,
so, yeah.
good, yeah, so everybody has it and it's readily available. Now, what I wanted to touch on was, I wanted to take this configuration here and just for simplicity, let's just say it's two 8 card reader panels. And you guys give me a brand and I'll go with it. Who do you wanna go with? Keyscan maybe? Is Keyscan composite?
Why don't we do on.com?
Farm.com.
Are they composite cable out?
Yeah.
Okay, alright, so they're composite cable. Alright, so on this two 8 card reader panel system, we're talking about a total of 16 card readers, 16 doors, however you wanna put it together. In this application, 9 out of 10 times, unless it's a 35-year-old Honeywell system, it's proprietary. In this example, you guys are gonna reuse the card readers, the locking hardware. You're definitely gonna use the composite cable infrastructure. So in that application, what you would need, and I will never be a lot of line, if I'm 5 line items and you guys quote, we're doing something out of the ordinary. I'm very few line items. So keep that in mind. So in this application, you know, we need 16 of the EIDC 32 controllers and software, and that would be it. Because in this application, card readers, locking hardware, cabling infrastructure, and most likely all the credentials is all being reused. So Mr. Customer's like, wow, I feel good about this. I'm repurposing 85% of my system. So in this application, as simple as it sounds, these 2 panels, you guys would go in and disconnect the composite cable from those 2 control boards, add my controllers, give me this jumper from the controller to the PoE switch, and you're done. I mean, you're gonna spend 90% of your time in that closet. Now, again, I'm taking advantage of the PoE switch. It's putting me on the network and it's giving me power for my card reader and lock. Now, you still have to configure it, you still have to train customer X and so forth. But we literally do hundreds of these weekly. And the reason behind it is everything that we talked about over here. I'm tired of the software support agreement. I don't like the software. I'm 2 or 3 versions behind. I'm tired of paying the SSA. I know those 5 doors I want to add, I have to pay a card reader license. I'm just done with it. And that's his attitude. I just don't want to deal with it anymore. So these are just absolutely silly as far as how simple and obviously good margin and quick turnarounds on those. Now you do have the application, excuse me, where you are taking over you know, a 35-year-old Honeywell system and you have to replace the card readers. That's just common, and the card readers and the credentials are proprietary. You guys may come across that every now and then. So questions about what I've showed you guys so far, what doesn't make sense, how in the world did you get there? Questions, anybody? Because there's no such thing as a silly question to me by all means. Does you guys understand where we're going with this? Okay. Now,
I've got a question on the power.
yes, sir.
Because if we're doing PoE and everything, obviously, typically they're gonna have backup power on their, if they have any other internet equipment on
Yes.
site.
Yes.
Do you recommend just using that or providing a separate power supply for the Infineas system?
I recommend UPS.
Okay.
Now, these guys can be powered 24 volt DC as well, if you want to go that route. There's additional costs there, but perhaps the customer doesn't like the idea of you putting these on their existing network, or maybe they don't understand, hey, they're creating a new security network. Maybe they just don't grasp it, so you could do that. Now, I've got too many things in my hand at one time. One thing I wanted to say about these controllers, guys, is there's 4 onboard input-output relays. So you can turn on lights, you can unlock doors, you can do anything you want with these controllers. The relays are there. Each controller on his hypothetical 16-door system, each controller, not the system itself, will hold 64,000 cardholders and the last 16,000 transactions. So if we have a network glitch, this controller is gonna hold the last 16,000 transactions. So that means everybody in this room, including myself and another 15,000 people, can still go through that door in an offline mode. And you know, there's no hair on fire. You guys gotta get out there today, no problem whatsoever. There's a network issue. The last 16,000 transactions are stored in this, and it will grant access in an offline mode. And again, it's just, you just don't have to rush out there. Now, once that network is repaired by you guys or by the end user, we will dump that data and it will go to the server, and they can run a report on anything that they want, any person, first name, last name, door group, whatever it may be. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Big selling point. Now, do you guys have applications where within the software you need Active Directory, you need elevator control? Do you guys have those requirements?
Currently no,
Yeah,
but
across
as we
that.
keep growing, depending on the customer, we may.
Okay,
But,
good.
but
That's
right
good to
now,
hear.
right now, no. So,
Okay. We offer that and a lot more with the software, so it's all there. If you guys have customers that need photo ID badge design, it's built into the software. Front, back, landscape, portrait, whatever you choose. It's not a bolt-on, it's not additional dollars, it's not a third-party software, it's within Infineas. So if you go from 6.7 to 7.0, it's still there, so you don't have to worry about that. But the photo ID design software is there. You brought up a point a minute ago. I'm gonna erase a little bit of this. Do you guys have the request for using cell phones in place of badges or key fobs or anything like that?
I do. And
I'm sorry?
I
You
do.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, with some of the other, like PDK, for example, in order to do that, you have to have a certain reader,
Right.
and, you know, which costs more,
Right.
obviously. And then you have to have the extra cost to be able to have a mobile credential reader.
Right, okay.
You know.
So I may be stepping on out of boundary here when I say this, but to the best of my knowledge, he is referring to Bluetooth readers, and they are not available. Multi-class and I-class readers are starting to become available again, but with Bluetooth, they're not available. So with about 95% of our competition, as this gentleman just stated, you have to go in and replace the readers and put in a Bluetooth reader instead. With us, you do not. With the Infineas mobile credential, I don't want you guys to do this because I don't want you to stop selling readers, but with our mobile credential, using your cell phone, you could literally have a system with no card readers at all. Now, when I say that, there's like two examples that come to mind. Public buildings, city, state, federal, and perhaps hospitals and so forth, you know, that have the big bold, you know, B123, so you're not confused. You know, you're on, if it's B, you're assuming it's a second floor, door number 123, you know, that type of stuff. Real good nomenclature at every door. So you can tell your customers that you could sell them a system without readers, but I think your customers may get confused and they may get frustrated and call you guys. What we do that's different from everyone else is the data plan on this phone with the mobile credential app talks directly to this server or to Infineas Cloud. It says it's 8:03 in the morning, door number B123, allow Rich Rayo access, you know, accept or deny, and it grants access real time.
Right to the controller.
Right to the controller.
Yeah.
So this cell phone, I'm standing out front of your office, I select, you know, the front entry, and the data plan talks directly to the server or to the cloud and lets you guys in real time. So you could literally go without card readers, which I don't recommend, and go that route. Now, It is a license, and they do run about $7 per phone, and it's tied into the SSI of this phone, which means it is 100% encrypted, and it cannot be transferred. So I know we were talking out in the parking lot, he said after work today, he's getting an iPhone 14 today, so I would suggest he not get the mobile credential until he gets his new phone and puts it on his new phone, because it's not transferable.
Right.
Now,
Question on that really quick
You bet.
is, in the instance they have a network error on their site, that will not work at that time, correct?
it will work just fine, yes.
So you're able to actually unlock a door with them having a network issue?
Yes, because we got a port open and we're talking directly to the server.
Okay, so.
Yes, so we're, I don't wanna
I'm
say,
saying a network issue between the actual controller, the door controller, and their network.
no, it's not an issue because
Okay.
this cell phone data plan is talking directly to that server through an open port.
Okay.
And it's saying Richard Rayo, accept or deny, again,
Perfect,
and I, yeah, so we're
Okay.
good on that. Now, everybody has a cell phone and hopefully they use one or more forms of authentication, a pattern, a 4-digit, a fingerprint, an eye, whatever. So we recommend you use that. So when I pick up your cell phone in a parking lot, I just can't open the Infineas mobile credential app and walk in your front of your building. Guys like, why is this guy in our building? So we recommend you use that. That costs $0 to use that, and probably everyone should anyway.
Yep.
The second feature that we take advantage of is the GPS that's built into this phone. And what we call it within Infineas is we call it geofencing.
When you get within a certain range,
Right. So we've got the CEO here to my rear, and then we've got me, the receptionist. He didn't know, he just got an increase. So this is something that you have a conversation with your customer and you set it up based on their ideas. So our CEO has what we call unlimited geofencing, which means he can unlock a door from anywhere on the planet. He can be laying on the beach in Puerto Rico and I call and say, hey, I lost my badge. Okay, I'll let you in, no problem. Click, door's open. The receptionist, on the other hand, who happens to be me, we want to keep a little bit tighter rein on. I want Richard Rayo to be within 30, 40 feet of that door to be able to unlock it. Just so on Friday night, if I'm acting stupid somewhere and doing something, hey guys, watch this, I'm gonna open the front door of the, you just don't want that to happen. So you set the geofencing up based on what your customer would like. It doesn't matter. It's just a feature that they can take advantage of. Again, with the authentication set up and the geofencing, it becomes a really good scenario. Now, we have had our share of challenges getting key fobs and I-class badges and proximity badges and everything in between. I know for a fact we got 150,000 badges in 7 business days ago, and we're down to like 25,000. I mean, we had a tremendous backlog on badges. This is a great alternative. We sell them in packs of 10, 20, 50, 100, 250, whatever you want. And there are still some folks out there that, are a little leery about COVID. So this is, again, another good scenario to where you don't have to touch anything, right? You don't have to present a badge and so forth. So think about that. Questions on the mobile credential?
Can they use it like on a multi-factor authentication, like if they had a video system and it was reading faces as they came in, where it would typically unlock, but they also wanted to have it where they could use this system as a backup or a primary? How would you configure something like that?
That is coming in a new version of Infineas, yes.
Okay.
We're getting to the point to where with the right video surveillance, that, facial recognition, access control is gonna be more common than it is today. Yeah, that is certainly, that's gonna happen, yes.
Okay.
That's certainly gonna happen. Questions, guys? Okay. Yes, sir? Anybody? No? Okay. Has anybody worked with the Allegiant line of wireless locks. Do you have any requests for those locks? Are you guys familiar with them?
I
Or
did
is
in
this
the past, but it was the 8400 and 300s.
right?
But
So these are the Allegiant line of wireless locks. This happens to be a cylindrical because it's about 10 pounds lighter than carrying around a mortise, but this comes in a cylindrical and also mortise. Card reader. This is what I call the lever lock, and we can match any fit and finish that you guys have. For instance, that brass or
Bronze.
bronze.
Probably the most
We can
popular.
match that identical. Locking hardware is built into it, along with the door contact, and then your batteries are in the back. So what I want you guys to think about, do you guys do any school district work or higher ed? Not a lot, not any.
It reminds me of a hotel door.
Yeah, good point. So what I'd like for you guys to think about is school districts, classrooms, IDFs, MDFs. Think about, even if you're not in these verticals right now, think about universities, hundreds if not thousands of dorm doors. Very cost effective. I want you guys to think about federal, state, city, and local government buildings that were built in the 50s and 60s. Concrete, masonry walls, hard ceilings, no access. You guys say conduit, they're like, I'm throwing you out of my office type scenario. So think about these locks. These locks are about 1/2 to 2/3 the cost of hardwired Infineas. They have all the features and capabilities that the hardwired Infineas brings to the table. But I personally, I sell hundreds of these locks. I sold 161 of them last week to a school district. They absolutely gravitate to these locks. They're extremely cost effective. These locks talk to an IP addressable gateway that's mounted in the hallway or wherever it may be mounted, basically where the wall meets the ceiling. And each of the gateways will support up to 10 of these locks.
what's the distance?
40 feet.
approximately? Okay.
Line of sight.
Line of
Not
sight.
around corners, not through walls, etc., but 40 feet either direction, line of sight. So if you have a school district or you're doing dormitory rooms or you're doing a historical building, we did a courthouse in Fort Bend County that was built in 1893. It's the historical courthouse. We put these guys in. They blended in perfectly. And they look great. We've done Harley dealerships where these guys are all solid black because Harley dealerships are very big into aesthetics and so forth. So think about these locks in education, higher ed, older buildings where you absolutely do not have a path for conduit and they wouldn't allow it in the first place. They're very, very competitive in price. Absolutely no cabling to these locks at all. None.
Do they still operate off of a fob system?
Yes,
Okay. So
absolutely.
you don't have to deal with an individual code,
No.
each one is swipe it and goes.
Yes, sir.
Is there a smaller style profile for it?
No, this is gonna be your
That's what it is.
cylindrical,
Okay.
and then your mortise is gonna be more of an oblong type shape.
But your door frame would have to accommodate that width of
Yes,
a lock setup.
and that's actually a good question. So these locks, we deal with, you guys have heard of Slag before? Okay, so Slag is our partner. We buy these directly from them. If you have an opportunity, I can come out, we can take a look, you guys can take pictures, but basically I need a picture, the front side, the back side, and then I need a picture of this edge. If you have a tape measure to put up against it, 1 3/4, 1 7/8, that helps us out. Pick out the right fit and finish, cylindrical mortise, etc. With the keyways, if they're having issues with too many Grand Masters out, we can put in a new keyway, we can match their keyway, whatever you want to do. So I encourage you guys to keep these in your tool bag because we literally sell hundreds of these locks. They really do. I mean, and you guys think about a dorm, even if it's a community college or just a regular college, they have hundreds of dorms.
Yeah, interior doors, like you
Yeah,
do the interior doors.
Now, good point. Now, where these will not work These will not work on double doors, and they will not work on a door or a gate or whatever it may be where the inside is exposed to the weather. That's the only two locations these won't work. So when I talk about that, think about a spa or a apartment or a condominium pool that has a nice wrought iron gate, not a good fit. That set of doors, not a good fit either. The other really magic part of that is this controller is not part of the equation anymore. It goes away, so this cost is gone. This lock talks to that gateway, which is an IP addressable device directly back to my server or Infineas cloud. So that cost goes away as well. These are somewhere between 45 and 50 minutes for you guys to install. Now the first one might take an hour and a half. And then after that, you know, you get faster and so forth. Now, my partner at Allegion will come out to the site with you guys. They will do a site walk with you. They will tell you how many gateways you need. They've got everything that's portable that they carry around, and they will do all the calculations. They will give me the 48-digit alphanumerical part number, which, you know, is as long as a yardstick, if you will, and we can take care of everything. What we do is we partner this lock part number with the Infineas wireless license into one part number. So you got 28 of these and 7 gateways, and perhaps the software. Very, very simple. Again, it has the lock built into it, card reader. The batteries last 18 months. Not only will this lock tell you that I'm at 30%, my software will as well. We recommend on these locks traditional alkaline batteries, not lithium. Because if anybody in here has ever used a cordless drill, lithium cordless drill runs 100 miles an hour and then it stops dead in its track. An alkaline kind of does a gradual decline. Questions, anybody?
But it can still be operated off the key.
Oh, yes.
Case scenario.
Yes, because there's going to be a scenario where, and this is where we also put a lot of these in. I can't believe I overlooked that. But guys, I want you to start taking a second and maybe even a third look at assisted living, condominiums, high rises, apartments, whatever it may be. All of those individuals have to have a way to get into their room. Sometimes they may misplace something. Sometimes they may not know a 4-digit PIN, etc. But we put hundreds of these locks in your high-rise, 2-3 story, high-end assisted living facilities on a regular basis. So they're aesthetically look nice. There's no cable that has to be run, and they do a good job for the residents. So if you're not in that vertical, at least think about it. Because you'll find one or two scenarios. You'll find some old locks, perhaps by Best, that are no longer supported, hardware or software, or you'll just find that they're still doing brass keys, and that's expensive, and there's a lot of losses and so forth that are associated with those, so think about that.
Can you rekey that?
Yes. If you want to match the key core that's in this building right now, they'll show up that way. If you want a virgin keyway because there's too many grandmasters out and so forth, whatever you specify is what it'll show up with.
And then can you open it with your phone?
Yes, absolutely. You can do everything that you can with hardwired Infineas.
So ideally, like you put that in a dorm scenario where you put each of those locks on, somebody's got their key fob, and like they do that and they lose their key fob. I would say that in that case, you wouldn't necessarily distribute keys to everybody, but
Oh, no.
the RA or whoever would have, I don't know, maybe you wouldn't want to give it to an RA, but somebody, the building super would have a key that could get them into their deal, and then probably reissue them another key fob.
Mhm. There's going to be a scenario where there's a slip and fall in the shower, someone doesn't come out of their assisted living, someone doesn't come out of their dorm, and they're gonna have to do a key override to go in and do a
Or there's
welfare
a
check.
fire and they need to check in there.
Absolutely, yeah, there's always gonna be the need for the key override, so that's always gonna be there. Otherwise, you know, it gets a little dicey as far as how you get in there. questions that I can answer about Infineas, something that maybe didn't make sense, I'm happy to go over it again with you guys.
How do you add phones to that? So like, if I sold to a hotel, could they add it from the front desk?
Yes.
So they can add and delete?
Mhm. So in the Infineas software where you have, where you're setting up new users, you're going to see a count. Okay, I have 50 of the mobile credentials available. Just gave you number 50, now I have 49. So you would just you just take that software key, plug it in, Bill Smith, whatever, access groups, etc., hit save, and then it would be activated.
Now that's non-transferable as well, right? So,
No, the mobile credential is not transferable.
So pretty much you're down 49. Jimmy decides to move somewhere else. That credential's gone.
That's gone.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh.
Or you upgrade your phone.
Yes, sir.
So with the hardwire system, is there the fire relay to,
Absolutely.
where you have your
Yes.
fail safe?
Yes, and I can share with you guys wiring diagrams for the controller for fail-safe strikes, fail-secure, mag locks, fire alarm, everything. Yes, I'll share that all with you guys. Now, the last thing I want to mention on Infineas is the thin client is no cost. So from an admin perspective, we have the admin and the assistant admin. They would have the thin client. Perhaps you would have the thin client as well, but they would say, well, we just want him to have this level of access. So we have, from, super user down to just user. So you guys would select whoever you want to give that thin client to. I want them to have this capability. I want him to be able to go in and look at everything, but not do an add, change, delete. So again, very important. The thin client is no cost. The Infineas Site Access app, which is full-blown access to the software, is no cost as well. So not only do you have access to the software within this building, you can load it on your phone and completely manage the system, your tablet, your home PC, whatever it may be. So your customers are going to be able to do anything they want on-site or remote, and it's no cost. A lot of our competition says, hey, you can have 2 copies of each, and then the next one is X. You guys download it from our website. It's no cost to them at all. So I would consider that part of, their annual cost of ownership being basically, and this is really important, guys, outside of the cloud, their annual cost of ownership for Infineas is $0. You need to make sure that, they understand that, yeah, they do have a cost for adding those 10 additional doors, but their annual cost to own this product and utilize it is $0. If they go with the cloud with you guys, then obviously they're paying you guys monthly, quarterly, whatever it may be. But I encourage you guys, I've seen the cloud, as low as, $8 a door. I've seen it as high as $24 a door per month. And when I say that,
So our pass-through to you, those $5.
yes, only $5. So when I say that, you guys tell me, I'm your customer, what else would you bolt on to Infineas Cloud to run that number north? Would you run reports for me if I ask you? Would you do add, change, and deletes? Would you do preventive maintenance? What all would you guys do for me as the end user in order for you to run that number north and bolt on everything that I'm willing to pay for or ask you guys to do? Hey, I want you to run reports for me every Monday. Okay, we'll do that. It's going to be $16 a door per month, right? There's a cost for everything. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what about the different levels of software? Because there's the essentials.
Right.
Yeah, there's like 3 flavors,
Right.
right?
So Essentials is what you guys will probably sell about 95% of the time. It is the full-blown software suite with everything that I've talked about. The next step up is Professional. That includes Active Directory integration. That includes elevator control. And that includes Google and Outlook calendar integration. So that's Pro, so you add those to it. And then above Pro is Corporate, which brings everything that I talked about along with multi-site management. So we've got the 2 managing directors of CVS drugstore here today with us, and they've got 500 stores apiece. and each store has 3 card readers, and these guys do not want 125 phone calls a day from those 500 stores collectively. Can you take Richard out? Can you put Bill in? Can you do this? Can you do that? So these guys have delegated to each of their stores, you guys take care of the daily ad change and deletes, and don't call me. Sorry about that. Don't call me, right? You take care of it out in the field. Each of these gentlemen can see their 500 stores and everything that's going on in their stores. The stores cannot see one another, but that's kind of like, you know, parent-children type scenario. And these guys don't get those calls at 4:15 on Friday. Hey, can you take Richard out? You know, make all these changes. So corporate brings you the multi-site management.
Okay.
If you want to go from essentials to corporate, essentials to pro, it's a very, very minimal dollar fee. It's not, oh my gosh, you guys really screwed up. You should have done that in the beginning. It's going to be, you know, it's not, no, not at all. You can make the jump anytime they want to. It's nominal, very minimal fee to go from one software to another.
Is it a per door fee or is it a flat fee
For
to go from one software to another?
flat fee.
Okay.
Yeah, again, there's no card reader licenses. You can go from essentials to pro, essentials to corporate. You can do it anytime you want. It's a few $100s, no big deal. We just turn on the features and there's no additional cost. If you've got a customer that flip-flops back and forth from cloud to server or server to cloud or whatever it may be, not a problem. You guys are actually making money because you're either bringing in RMR, now you're gonna sell the software, or the reverse of that. So it's a simple phone call. They can make a change. I'll pick on my buddy here again. He went from 12 doors to 112. He says, I love you guys to death as my security integrator, but I'm not gonna pay you anymore. I have an on-staff IT guy now. I'll take care of it myself. Make sense? And just as soon as, you know, I walk out of the door today, I'll get a phone call from an IT manager, and he said, I don't care if you're giving servers away. I don't care if you get a free holiday weekend with the server. I don't want it. I want to put 300 doors on the cloud, and then end of conversation. Okay, that's fine. So I'll get contradicted in making that statement, 15 to 20 doors, because a lot of IT personnel this day and time, they're like, I don't care who built the server. If it's free, no more servers in my racks. I don't want them anymore. I want to have everything in the cloud. And as you guys probably are aware, AWS redundancy like you can't imagine.
Now, one more question, again.
No, sir, you're out of questions.
Not done. So given the scenario where we actually have one access controller above the door,
Yes, sir.
if the network goes down on site, obviously their credentials are built into the controller, they're all set, they can swipe it. Now, if they're using the mobile app though, and their network goes down, you still can access it?
Yes.
How does it communicate to, because you said it communicates to the server, but how does it get to the controller if the network's down between the controller and the server?
It bypasses the controller. So you have, as an example, and I'm just making this port, you have port number 80 open.
Right?
And the network is down, and that cell phone is requesting access. It is going to go directly to the server and request that access. It is
Now,
going,
you're saying the server in the cloud or the server
or
on
on-prem,
site?
either
Okay.
one. So, yes, this has you and 16,000 other people in it,
Right?
but during that offline mode, the cell phone data plan will go directly to the on-prem server or Infineas cloud and accept or deny that access grant.
So then, do they all have cellular built into them? Is that, like, how does it get that communication of this person's allowed now, or open the door now?
Through opening this port.
But if the network has an issue, let's just say like somebody cut the cable.
Okay, in
and
that
that's
case,
what
yes.
I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
the
worst
true
case
network
scenario,
issue.
yes.
Okay.
You would be
So-
denied access.
Okay,
yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
where a lock on the door or something like that would
Yes.
be very helpful.
In-
Okay. I just want to
in a
make sure
dire
that
yes,
if
you
there's
are
an
correct on
actual
that.
bad situation with the network, that would be the one time it would go down.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's obviously on their end,
Okay,
something
but
happened.
I just didn't know when you said it earlier. I was wondering if there's like cell communication
No,
or something in there.
no.
Okay, got it.
But if it is that serious of a
Yeah,
situation.
there's
then yes.
more issues at hand at that point.
Right,
I
yeah,
guess,
you're,
right?
you're exactly right
Okay.
on that. And that's a good question. I wanna talk to you guys for 5 minutes on what we bring to the table with video surveillance. And I just wanna touch on it, like I said, real quick, just so that you guys are aware of it. Let's see, where can we do something right here? So, and I promise not to be long.
Before you get started on
Yes,
that, if the network goes down on the door handle,
Uh-huh,
does it remember all the
yes,
key cards?
same scenario.
Same exact scenario.
Yes. So, guys, our video surveillance system is called Vigil, and we bring it to the table in 3 different scenarios. We obviously have IP cameras and NVRs. These can be hybrid, obviously. Second scenario is we have no NVR. And what we do in this application, let me write this one more thing. So we're from 128 to 1 terabyte SD card. So, because he hasn't done anything mean to me yet, I'm gonna use him one more time, but it's a good example. So, he comes to you guys and he says, hey, I've got 7 mechanic shops in Conroe, and I need video surveillance. I need 8 or 9 cameras at each location, but I absolutely do not have a budget for an NVR. I do not have this kind of money for each location. But I wanna see every location all at one time. I wanna build views that I can click on of the mechanic shop. I wanna build views of the front lobby, whatever it may be, but I cannot afford an NVR. Our all-in-one cameras, I'm sorry about my terrible writing. Our all-in-one cameras have from 128 up to 1 terabyte onboard SD card built into them. You never touch them. And our server software. Server software is loaded on each camera. So he tells me I need 30 days of storage in my lobby because I want to look at the transactions between my employees and customers. And I need 15 or 90 or 120 days or whatever in my shop because I want to watch things that are going on. We put in the correct Western Digital SD card into each camera to meet his specific requirements. He may have a different storage requirement for every camera, and we can meet that. Okay.
What would be your price on a 8 camera system with your Vigil stuff?
It depends on the megapixel and it depends on the storage, but if you'd like an example, I'll put one together for
Like
you guys.
30 days, like say what you just said, 30 days storage, no NVR.
I mean, anything I'm gonna tell you guys is MSRP, but I can get it to
Yeah.
your distribution partner and they can give you an exact price.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do so. I mean, I'm just spitting out, numbers that don't mean anything because it's MSRP. So the server software and the SD card are built into the camera. So he's using the full-blown software Vigil without the NVRs. It's very cost effective. Again, he's got 5 or 6 locations, but he just doesn't have the money for a 16 or 96 channel or whatever NVR it may be, so he can go that route. So that is option, I'm getting ahead of myself here. That would be option number 2, to go with the all-in-one cameras. And then number 3 would be Vigil Cloud. And with Vigil Cloud, each of the cameras has an SD card based on his required storage for an area. He views everything in the cloud, recorded video, live video, saves clips, builds cases because I drove a forklift through a wall and they didn't know who did, whatever it may be. If the cloud is down, and when I say the cloud being down, that means there's something wrong with the pipe coming into his building because there's a backhoe out front and they just cut something. He is the end user on his network can still look at all the cameras live or recorded. So if he's looking at recorded video, he'd be going to the SD card. If he's looking at live video, well, that's self-explanatory. Everything is stored in the cloud. Now, with this scenario, you have from 30 to 120 days of subscription that he wants per camera. Now, this is where it gets a little interesting. Our competition will say, okay, Mr. Auto Mechanic man here, so you want 60 days on 1 camera you're gonna have to pay 60 days on every camera. With us, again, he wants 15 days, he wants 45, he wants 90 behind the building because he's got a lot of break-in.
So you can record at a higher resolution.
Yes,
certain
storage.
locations.
Yes. Now, have you guys done any cloud video?
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
in the past.
Most
Yeah.
of the things that we
Do
try
you
to
remember who it was?
Oh, shoot, man. Axis.
Okay. We were late getting into this game for the reasons that we wanted to try to not make some mistakes that other folks were making, but with Spico and Axis and definitely Verkada and one or two others, if he just happens to have a bad day and says, you know what, hey, I don't want your cloud storage anymore with our competition, those cameras become very attractive paperweights on his desk. They are useless. You either play by their rules and pay their subscriptions per month, or the cameras are useless. With ours, he calls you guys up today and says, hey, it's been fun, but no more. I want to put these on an NVR. You're like, okay, when can we be out?
They still have the software.
Absolutely.
So,
Still there, yes. So it doesn't sound like a big deal, but when he decides, you know, that the RMR you guys are pulling in, you know, $300, $400, $500 a month, maybe just from his location, all of a sudden goes away. You don't have to say, well, we'll sell you new cameras, or we'll do this, or we'll that. Okay, you decided you want to put them on an NVR, you can do that. Very big tool. There's a lot more to cloud as far as capabilities and so forth, but I want you guys to know about, obviously, IP or analog, IP NVRs, hybrid. I definitely want you to know about the all-in-one. We sell a tremendous amount of these. And then the cloud option itself.
so you do have a hybrid NVR
Absolutely.
that takes in coax and,
Absolutely, yes.
okay.
So we're from 4 to 96 channel and everything in between. Do you sell a lot of hybrid NVRs?
No.
No, I
No,
used
no,
to,
no.
but that's,
I've been looking at a lot of projects lately that would involve them.
Okay. I mean, I would have to, you know, sit down and pull up part numbers and so forth on our hybrid NVRs. They're there. I'm not a huge fan of them because I know what's going to happen. You're going to take a look at those IP cameras and say, oh my gosh, this is incredible. I've never seen anything like this before. I never want to buy another analog camera. And you're like, well, why in the world did I pay more for a hybrid when I could have bought an IP only? And, you know, there's encoders, there's a bunch of different ways, you know, to get around it because his 12 analog are on their way out and the other 48 IP are so impressive that he just kind of ignores the analog and eventually they're going to die and he's never going to say, hey, can you sell me 12 more analog? It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But we have them. I like to direct people, you know, towards the IP only and maybe try to do encoders or something like that, but just an afterthought.
okay.
Questions on the video, guys? I know it was kind of brief, but I want you to know it's there.
Just
Also-
one
yes,
really quick question,
Sure.
is, and you can get it back to me later on, but do you know the upload requirements of their network to be able to do the cloud? Because
Let
obviously,
me get that for you.
yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
you probably don't know it offhand, but if you could, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
that's a really good question because most people don't take that into consideration when they're talking to you guys about cloud and 5 out of the 9 people in this room are streaming cameras and going, and they're like, what happened to our bandwidth? We have nothing anymore. So
Right.
that's a really good point. A lot of times they do need to upgrade just to be
Exactly.
able to handle that. But they also have to build in some rules like, guys, hey, if you're not using the camera as a tool, stop streaming it. You know, you're killing my business over here.
Do all of these products that we talked about, they all go through distribution, or can you go direct through you guys?
That's a conversation that we need to have. If you guys feel like the conversation with me, if we're looking at, you know, big projects, if we're looking at steady work, if we need to look at coming direct, we can certainly do that. And that's something that we probably need to talk about before we get 2 or 3, you know, jobs into the process. But if you guys, you know, hey, we're doing, you know, apartment complexes, we're doing assisted living year round, you know, we've got, it may be something that we want to talk about and go direct right from the jump. Yes, and that is definitely a possibility. That's something we probably want to talk about.
With the NVR, with the dual one, you put 10 coax cameras on and then add 10 IP cameras.
Oh,
on top
yes.
of that and view them all at the same time.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And then does it have an app with it?
Yes,
Or you view it all from a cell phone?
yes. So normally on, let me erase this, normally on the hybrid, we're either 16 or 32 channels of the analog, and then the remainder would be IP.
I'm thinking about your beauty, remember your beauty place?
And
You can switch her in and
Uh-huh.
start adding IP cameras.
Yeah,
And keep in mind, these guys are what we call flex. So these can be analog or they can IP, so that there's some flex there. You can go either way, because what happens is, you know, these numbers start dwindling, you know, and you're like, well, hey, I wanna use those ports, so you can do that.
so they can just migrate.
Yes. We're integrated to Salient, to Milestone, to Video Insight, and we're also 100% integrated to our visual VMS from Infineas, so keep that in mind. The dollar cost for the Infineas to visual integration is $0. You basically open in the settings, you open it, you click a box, you click OK, and you're integrated. So that means every time somebody walks through that door, regardless,
You get the video.
Yeah.
Of the,
regardless of how fast or slow they're moving, there's a 3 to 7 video clip of this gentleman walking through that door, carrying whatever, etc. And you go into the event logs of Infineas, you see that person's name, timestamp, and a video clip. So you can click on it, say, okay, well, that's where that laptop went, or that's where that widget went. He brought it in, didn't take it back, whatever it may be. Questions, guys? Keep in mind, multiple solutions, one manufacturer, one neck to choke, if you will. It sounds kind of weird, but you know what I'm saying. All right, last piece, and I promise I'll leave you guys alone. I'm not sure who had the opportunity for shooter detection. Somebody had one, because I got a text over
I did in the past, but not
Okay.
recently.
This is, that is Active Guardian. That is our shooter detection system. Have you guys quoted any shooter detection? Do you have a rough idea on pricing or anything along those lines? Do you have any requests for it?
I think we can do it. What's the MSRP on?
$2,000 MSRP on this unit.
Okay.
Actually, I didn't even get the other one out.
How much area does it cover?
75 feet in any direction.
Okay.
All right, so you guys have or have not quoted any shooter detection or done anything with it?
Daryl may have, I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah, it's an option for analytics on our cameras.
all right. So it's really, really simple and it works. So all of our competition works off of 2 premises, either flash or bang. So I'll get kind of granular here. Fireworks, fire strobes, 110-degree temperature coming through mini blinds, whatever it may be, backfires, 2x4s being slammed together, 20-pound history books being dropped on the table. You use your imagination for flash and bang, and that is the premise that our competition works off of for shooter detection. One of those 2, if not both. We ignore both of those. We do not recognize them at all. The unit, the black unit, has 8 sensors, and it is designed for lobbies, atriums, cafeterias, gymnasiums, public events, indoor, outdoor, big areas. 75 feet in any direction. Okay?
Good for airports.
Yes. The smaller white unit has 1 sensor. That's the unit. That unit is designed to go down long hallways, corridors. Put it in, if we were in a long hallway right now, put it up in this top corner and let's shoot down 75 feet. The bigger unit is obviously overkill.
So what is it using to go off and to recognize the firearm?
Concussion. Who in the room has been around a gun that's been fired or fired a gun? You feel that concussive force, right? We're having a conversation, my back's to you, you fire a gun, I'm gonna feel it. It picks up on the concussive force, therefore we have no false alarms from the flash or the bang, and it picks up on that concussive force and reports.
So you could put this like that shooting that was in the club in Colorado.
Absolutely.
You could put this in the club actually.
Mhm. Anywhere. So think about that unit in a high school gymnasium. Think about that unit in an elementary school cafeteria. Think about the large mega churches, the massive atriums and lobbies, right? Think about open areas. Some of those are going in Austin, in the downtown area, where they have, you know, coffee shops and people playing guitars outside, you know, all this kind of open,
On
you know.
6th Street.
There you go, yeah. It only picks up on concussive force. It's very important, so we don't have those false alarms.
Does the height of the installation of that play a role in how far out it'll go?
No.
So
So
if
you-
I'm 40 feet up, I still got 75 feet
Yes,
out.
yes. Because remember, the tighter the area, the more that concussive force is encapsulated, if you will. So you're going to lose distance if you mount that, you know, behind your building in a parking lot. It's gonna pick it up, but obviously within the confines of this building or a cafeteria, it's gonna bounce off floors, walls, ceilings, seating, everything. So you're gonna feel that concussive force and it will pick it up.
So in the right situation, would it go over 75 feet?
Yes. Now, what I want you guys to think about is, and I keep going back to the same premise, but our competition is going to sell you a server, or gonna ask you guys to sell a server and software, and a software support agreement, and software upgrades for their shooter detection system. They're gonna ask you to sell these things. What I'm asking you guys to do is consider selling that unit, and I don't have the price on that white one, it's been out for 3 weeks, but I don't have it. The larger unit is $2,000 each, and it comes with config software. Now, here's what I consider kind of the catch, if you will. Who in the room has wired in a motion detector into an intrusion panel? Anybody? Okay, so a motion detector on a 24-hour zone with nomenclature, right? Y'all agree? Treat that unit or that unit the same way. Wire it into an intrusion panel and it will report back through that intrusion panel. Simple. No server, no software, obviously config software, no SSAs, no software agreements, anything's associated with it. You can tie those units into anyone's access control, video, or intrusion.
Now with intrusion, is that 8 separate zones or is that one zone?
One zone.
Okay.
One zone.
But it's gotta be hardwired back to the panel.
Correct.
So it detects a shot.
Concussive force, yes. Rifle, pistol,
and
shotgun.
it will send an alarm signal to the intrusion alarm system.
Correct.
And call the police.
Well, I mean, I don't have
Already
any.
have it.
Well, whatever we set the
Yeah.
alarm system to do based off that
Yeah.
input, yeah.
And send alerts out to the right people on the premises to react and.
If their intrusion goes to a central station, then you're spot on what you just said, yes. But I want you guys to keep that in mind. Obviously, you just brought up over the weekend that shooting in the club. But I mean, let's think outside the box. What if you guys put one of those in every HEB grocery store in Houston? I mean, just one, every grocery store.
So this device could be sold to anybody,
Anybody.
and then we can integrate it into their panel, and like they don't
Yes.
have to change anything on their end as far as
Nothing.
their monitoring or anything like that.
Nothing. I mean, every HEB grocery store in the greater Houston area, one of those units. School districts, front lobby, atrium, cafeterias, gymnasiums. I mean, it's boundless where you can put those units. And unfortunately, we're in a time right now where they're certainly in demand.
Yeah.
75 feet in any direction, it can be wall mounted. You do lose some distance if you wall mount it, approximately 30%, but that unit has 8 sensors built into it. In a perfect scenario, that unit will tell you that the northwest sensor number 6 is the direction that the shot came from. Now, does that mean that you move slower? No, you move at the same rate of speed to go see what happened. It just gives you a general idea.
Direction.
That person perhaps is still in the northwest corner of that gym.
Will that show up on the software? So if you have visual video and you have this solution and you also have the access control, like if the school police department has a map of where everything's located, will that pop up like a video automatically and showing where that came from at the same time?
Yes, and what we recommend on the video side is tie it into camera number 107, which is 50 feet away, or tie it into door number 107, so we have a close proximity. Where is that person, right?
Yep.
And then shot number 2 was fired in proximity of camera number 257, or what, so you have some idea what direction this person is moving in.
Hypothetically,
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw the hypothesis here. Is it possible to integrate that to the point where, in a school situation with doors on the access system and surveillance system, and that's going, and you're locating these shots, is it possible to put a fail closed on the doors in that corridor so that that person can't get out of that space?
With Infineas, and that's a really good question, with Infineas, obviously, the lockdown scenario for every building or individual buildings or whatever they can imagine is there, yes. Whether it be through your badge, a red badge, whether it be through a virtual button in the software, or whether it be, by municipality, yes. But, I caution that because we're great at locking people down in an area that, where they're in harm's way, right? You almost have to be real time to say, lock those doors and don't, so yes, that can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a very good question, but nowadays, what should we lock down? Hopefully, everything, and we contain the individual and they're able to get to them, yeah.
Could you integrate that into like the IRMU stuff on the cameras, to where because the IRMU stuff will see recognize the shooter before
So
the shot.
are you familiar with the IronU?
With who?
IronU.
No, I'm not.
It's a video analytics software that we're involved with, that I can put analytics onto any camera, and I can tell it to do things. And so but you can put an analytic on that when it sees a gun, it sends that notification.
Oh, yes, so it's
So
basically
before
detecting.
a shot's fired,
Right.
like if it sees a weapon, it'll send that analytic and say, hey, we're about to have shit happen. So I guess you're asking,
Could you,
will this integrate into that system as well, to the point where I would assume that it can, because you
Yeah.
can put iron.
The way that works is it can go on any system anyway, so
Just a
technically,
overlay, right?
yeah, it's overlaying whatever system we have, so we can use them together.
So
It may not integrate directly with your software to do different things, but we get the alert at least, and there are outputs to that, so we could possibly make it work, but.
I would think the possibility is strong, yeah, because it's certainly gonna be associated with a camera that's detected a weapon, right?
Right.
Prior to.
But we don't need to have visual cameras to be able to do that with this.
No.
We can use the 8
Yeah.
cameras.
And again, that's the beauty of it. We're not trying to sell them the server, the software, and SSA, upgrades and so forth. It will tie into anybody's access control video, or in its simplest state, intrusion, which is probably the most effective in a lot of ways because of the zones. But again, it's not, you're not trying to sell them $250,000 worth of stuff.
So could they communicate with our PTZ, like if I had 4 of those out back, if that one detects sound, it'd tell the PTZ, turn and look that direction?
That's the intent of it, yes, to be able to associate it with a camera location, which gives you proximity where this particular bad guy is. Now, he's probably not gonna stand still, but at least you've got a proximity, hey, he's headed west maybe.
Well, if that works, he had the PTZs and then
Track
you start
somebody's tracking them,
exactly.
exactly.
Aim that direction and it'll start tracking whoever's moving there. So.
Right.
So.
Very cool.
Guys, I think I ran over a little bit. My apologies on that. I hope it was informative.
Yeah.
Questions, comments, anything, I'm happy to answer. Who might be a good point person to get me email addresses so I can get everything out to you guys? Who would be the best person I could single out that maybe do that for me?
The CEO.
We're talking about a lot of companies here.
As CEO, I'm gonna delegate it to the VP.
All of a sudden, he doesn't like his title, right? He's like, I don't want that title.
The VP
So
didn't hear
you
what you
get to
said.
delegate.
Yeah,
He has no idea what's going on.
He's just asking for everybody's email address.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get somebody's business card, and just, reach out that way if you guys could share it, and I can get the, our solutions brochure and stuff out to you guys.
I can get you an email. I can get you an email address.
That's perfect, yeah. Again, guys, if you need help with site surveys, bill of material generation, I have an inside salesperson that covers just this area. We will turn quotes around for you guys in an hour. 3-way calls, site surveys. We have a team that does webinars on all of our products. If you have an arrogant IT guy that wants to get on and ask 5 questions, we'll take care of it. If you got, somebody who wants to see a general overview of one or more of the products, we will take care of it. We will design it or lay it out based on the requirements you give me, and we'll put it together any way you want. Technical, general overview, any way you want, but we do that for you guys on a regular basis. We have a team and that's all they do.
I wish we had some dummy ones of those.
So realistically, like in an HEB, you're from a Raptor, right?
Oh yeah.
So an HEB, like in my mind, that's four of those sensors would cover the whole building.
Well, remember, we're going 150 feet total.
Yeah.
So I don't know what, I use HEB because I think I'm in there too often, but I mean, I don't know the width and depth of the store, but I mean, 150 feet,
Maybe 2.
north and south, east and west. I mean, I kind of look at it from a customer shopping peace of mind. At least there's something in this store that might protect me and my little kid if we're in here. Maybe you don't get 100% coverage. Maybe it does take 2. But I'm just thinking, if you guys pulled something like that off, I mean, it'd be amazing. Because they need it. Maybe they don't even know it exists.
Yeah, they're headquartered in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very progressive with tech. I sold them some things on the trucking side. They have their own private fleet.
Wow.
So, but they're always looking for ways they're very progressive. So that'd be a good one for us to go after.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many big chains out there that, when you end up in court, it always boils down to the same thing. What did you have in place to protect your customer? Oh man, I had these 5 different solutions, but I just hope.
Right.
Hope is what I had in place. I mean, you're gonna get out of there, a lot less costly because you attempted to protect your customers while they were in your business. So just something to think about. Gentlemen, that's it from me.